Hey, everybody, good evening and welcome once again. I'm Reno Viola, known as the Mortgage Guy, aka also known as, I always wondered what aka stood for, but it's also known as the Mortgage Commando. I'm with the Mortgage Alliance Company of Canada, and of course, we specifically are the Ontario approval team, Sandra and I. And of course, Sandra is the pilot of and captain of this whole outfit. So, hi, Sandy. How are you doing?
I'm good, Reno. Boy, you're pleasant tonight. It's great to see you. We're here. We're going to talk about some cool stuff. Hey, everybody, don't shoot me. See the snowman in the window? Yes, I'm one of those early decorators for Christmas because I love the season. It's the season of giving. And right now, that's what we're doing. We're giving out mortgages and we're trying to get everything straightened away. But we want to start off with curving some misconceptions that people have about mortgage rates and the Bank of Canada rate and what the difference is and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? That's normally a very boring conversation. So we're going to keep it short and sweet so that hopefully it's easy enough for all of us to really understand how simple it is. So every second Wednesday, whatever it is, I don't even know the dates, but it's a Wednesday that the Bank of Canada comes out and makes their Bank of Canada rate announcement. That's what they're talking about here, and their basic rate right now is 0.25%. So that's what they're loaning money out to each other, bank to bank to bank to bank overnight. Whenever CIBC needs money from RBC, well, they borrow it at 0.25%. So don't get that mixed up because that means to you in your world means absolute, in our world means absolutely nothing except as a reference point. We don't get 0.25. So when you hear that the bank, and this is the misconception, the Bank of Canada rate, um, I
Has
don't
not
even know.
increased the rate, or they're deciding that they're going to hold the rate for the next 3 years. Everybody thinks, oh, great, that means my rate's not going up. Not quite true. That only affects the variable rate mortgages, or if you've got a HELOC, which is a line of credit attached to your house, which a lot of people get confused because they think that, hey, it's a line of credit. It's not a mortgage. It is a mortgage. It's just a different type of mortgage. But let's get back to that 0.25 Bank of Canada rate that's holding right now, and it has been for quite some time. Does not mean your rate's not going up. There's two things that affect rates. Reno, let's get
More
that.
more important. That 0.25%. Yeah, you have to understand the government of Canada and the finance department. You have to understand what's going on in the background. That's just a guideline. There is no way that anybody from the Bank of Canada can force the other banks to do an interest rate or uh, uh, provide an interest rate that they say that they should provide. So that 0.25% is a guideline that the Bank of Canada puts out there so that all the other banks start playing nice with each other. And when they're borrowing money from each other, that's what they're borrowing at. However, there was an idiot, and I mean the word idiot with a big I, from CMHC, who basically said, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And this new guy, who seems to be a lot better, that just took over a couple of weeks ago, is following in those footsteps because the Bank of Canada never used to make crystal ball announcements like this. So he said the Bank of Canada rates will stay low for the next 3 years. That's what he said. Well, you guys and us, we're having a different discussion. So I'm getting people telling me, well, you know what, I'm just going to hang in there for a little bit because if the rates, the guys told me that they're going to be steady for the next 3 years, chances are they're going to go down more than what they are right now. Well, my friend,
We don't all understand what that
my
means.
friend, my friends, there are rates out there for fixed rate mortgages, insured fixed rate, sorry, variable rate mortgage, fixed variable rate mortgages right now at 1.35%. Okay. It's not going to get any lower. It can't get any lower. The banks won't allow it to get any lower. But you know what? I don't even want to talk about that 0.25% and the the variable rate mortgage, because that's a whole different dialogue. Let's talk about the
Most people don't
fixed
even
rate
talk
mortgage.
about that. Most people want to know about the 5-year fixed mortgage, and they
That's what
want
they
to
wanna know.
know why. And so this here rate that we're talking about, Bank of Canada, does not affect the 5-year fixed mortgage. What affects the 5-year fixed mortgage is the bond rate. If the bond rate goes up, so does the 5-year fixed rate, and many of the fixed rates, because they're all tied into that cost of the bond.
Right, and the profit of the bond. So investors who put their money in banks, so the banks can loan it out as whatever loans they want, or mortgages, preferably for us. Well, if they stick with the banks and the banks don't put their rates up, they're going to go take it out and go to someplace else and invest it in bonds. They're saying, don't invest in mortgages anymore, invest in bonds, because the investor's making more money. So that's how this thing goes up. And of course, so when the bonds rate go up, so that all the investors that are putting money in mortgages don't escape and go out and buy bonds and not get in the mortgage market anymore, the banks raise their rates a little bit so that it comes up and it's pretty well even with the bond, or at least the profitability is even with the bond. So I know it's hard to understand. Try to be patient with us. I'm not trying to confuse you, but the Bank of Canada rate has absolutely nothing to do with whether the regular banks and lenders put their rates up or not. And I'm here to tell you that at one point, whatever, 4, 5, 5, 6, whatever, really low rates, 1.5 for all intended purposes for a fixed rate mortgage, it won't get any lower. It can't get any lower. So if you're waiting for it to get lower, you're going to lose out, because it's only got one way to go, and that's up.
You know what though, Reno, let's not get too hung up on that stuff. Right now, you're right. We actually have rates that are going to start as of January 2nd, 1.64 for a 5-year fixed mortgage. That's for about 2 months. And then what are we expecting? I don't know. I think it's going to go up. Absolutely. So if you're looking to buy and you're trying to get into the market now, now's the time. Unfortunately, try finding a house. We keep hearing this every day. We get people going, oh, I put in an offer $50,000 over asking and got beat out. Like, and this is in small markets where there's like 6,000 people in the village living, and these houses are going way over asking, where a year ago they couldn't dump these houses fast enough. They couldn't get rid of them. Now they're just going like hotcakes. You would almost think we're having like a fire sale happening.
Well, and you know what? It always starts all talk in our business start with the rate. And in the end, it really doesn't mean anything, because you're going to buy. So whether it's at 1.64 or whether it's at 1.73, what's the difference? It's probably about $4 a month. So that's it. It's $4. Maybe, I don't know. I'm guessing, but it's very little. There's nothing there. There's no substance to it. If you're trying to just save the monthly payment portion, talk to us. We'll figure a different way. We'll put a longer amortization on it, or heck, for $4 a month, I'll give you a kickback. I have no problem making ourselves competitive. I know I'm not going to give her a kickback, but the point is, it always starts about rates and it never finishes with rates. It's always about the service.
Let's be realistic. Rates. We hear that all the time. What is more important, the rate? Sometimes you don't get that low. Most of the time, you're not going to get the lowest bare bottom rate most of the time, because there's always some other little catch in there that causes there to be some havoc. Like, Reno, we came across that situation. I did, actually. It was my deal. She was trying to buy a house out in the country. And it's one of those houses that would sat on the market for a year, 500 square feet house.
Oh, that one.
Oh my gosh. Lenders are like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I must have had 10 people tell me, no, thank you. Don't like the house. You look at the listing and it's saying it's wood fire, it's a wood stove, propane wood stove. Lenders go, I don't want a wood stove. 500 square feet. And then they do the math. They look at these listings and they see that on the listings that there's only 2 bedrooms on the house. Until you talk to a realtor and they say, oh, no, there's 5 bedrooms there. Well, please put it there so that the lenders.
Hang on, you're confusing people now, though, because now you're talking about a 500 square foot house with 5 bedrooms. It's impossible.
Well, 5 rooms. Sorry, it could be. It could be.
Well, 5 rooms, but not 5 bedrooms.
Well, and you know what? It depends on what you consider.
Well, you know what?
A room. Some people have like a porch and they think it's a room. It's not a room.
Listen, here's the deal. to be accurate with your customer is key. Whether you're a realtor, who the listing that Sandra is talking about, the realtor should have, when he listed that house, he should have been accurately put stuff on that listing that was real to understand, because he knew the person buying it would have to get financing. So try and get an underwriter to understand what a wood burning gas fireplace is.
Propane, sorry, it was a propane wood
wood
stove.
burning stove.
And-
Wood stove, propane. What is that?
Reno, but the realtor probably understood what it was, but that doesn't mean the normal person, like everybody else, knows what it means. I know when I looked at it, I went, oh, is this a wood stove or is this a propane stove? What is it? Little things like that. And it's always good to make sure that when you're looking at the houses or whatever you are doing, ask your realtor, have your realtor talk to us so that they clarify to us what it is. Because sometimes it's just misunderstandings, but that's not what we're here about. We're about just trying to explain what causes the rates to change. There's the one thing that would affect your rate.
And why did it affect your rate on that particular house?
Because normally they don't like houses that small. It's a small house. Usually they like to see a house no less than 800 square feet. Some lenders will go under 500, but then again, if you start going into the rural parts of Ontario, which we have a lot of them, and depending on the person's income situation, stuff like that, we did get it done. Absolutely. We just have to look at it a different way because the insurer didn't like the house. So we just went to the lender direct and said, okay, let's keep the insurer out of it. Here's the situation. They did an appraisal. Everything was nice. Discovered that it was not a wood stove. It is actually a propane stove, and that the square footage was within that 500 zone square foot. So it all worked out well. Customers happy. That's kind of what we do as brokers, working with you to make sure that we understand what we're reading as well. Because maybe we're reading misunderstanding something, because we're only human beings, Rena. We're not super gods as well. You are, but I'm not.
Well, I'm the mortgage guy, and I'm the mortgage commando. So
are you the realtor though? Not anymore. You were though. At one time you were.
Want me to be vain? I know all about real estate. That's why I sell mortgages. Anyway, yeah, what we're here about tonight is actually to help you, and we're hoping that some of these scenarios and cases that we picked match what you're thinking about, or trying to do what you're thinking about doing, and hopefully we can help you get your deal done. And the reason I say that,
Reno, what you're trying to get out across to people is there's more than one way to do a mortgage.
Correct.
Sometimes we have to think outside the box, and that's what our job is. That is what we do. We think out of the box, and by us thinking out of the box, we find solutions to difficult situations, like that 500 square foot home. It was a difficult situation. We found solutions. Now you had another situation happen to you, something to do with the land.
So before we get into this though, okay, we also do the easy mortgages, but even on the easy mortgages, we have the knowledge of the lenders we're taking you to, so that even though, you could have gone to the bank and got almost as good a deal, because I think our interest rates are better anyway, but you could have got almost as good a deal at TD Bank. You could have, maybe. The problem is, I would have been thinking 3 to 4 years down the road with a different lender for you if you had to get out. So I would have saved you some money in the background with the interest rate differential charge. So remember, we're always thinking for you. We work for you. But the cases that we're about to discuss tonight are things that happened in the last 2 weeks for us, things that are real and things that happen every day in our portion of the business. So the first one for us, have a customer that I've been working on for probably a month and a half, 2 months, and they finally decided, hey, you know what, these prices are going up too crazy. We got to get in now. So, and the reason they were holding back was because they didn't have quite all the down payment. Everything was perfect. Great credit, great jobs, longevity, the appetite for a house, everything was right, except they hadn't saved enough down payment, even though they had saved a whack of money. They had saved $15,000 already, but they were short 20. So their price range was a $600,000 house. So after we had the discussion about, well, maybe you should, come down to a $400,000 house, we realized that what they were looking for doesn't cost $400, it costs $600. So if they wanted to get in the market, that's the number that they had to hit. So they found a house that was 600. Okay, now we got to do something with it. Except now don't have enough down payment, and they want to put 5% down. Well, 5% on 600,000 doesn't work because it's 5% of 500,000 and then 10% of the other 100,000. So it works out to a total of $35,000 is what they needed, right, Sandy?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so $35,000 is what they need. They only had $15,000, and of course, someone like us that drops conversations halfway through have made them aware that you cannot borrow money for a down payment. And we've told you in the past episode that is absolutely not true. These people are gem. These people, great credit, great jobs, great income. Everything is ideal except they didn't have the money. So they had 15,000, but I needed 35,000. So I found them one of the very few lenders who does allow you to borrow down payment, and they actually lend it to you as well as a separate loan.
Both. Yes, they do set up both. But the only thing with that is an option that's available. You have to have great credit and a good job. There's no doubt about that because you're a higher risk person. But the other thing that's important to understand is you're not getting a 1.64% interest
Oh
rate.
yeah, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You're a higher risk. So it's all these rates that we talk about, whether it's 1.64, 1.79, or whatever it is, it's all based on risk. The higher risk you are, the higher the rate you're going to pay.
And so these people, the way it ended up, we did find them an approval for a house with a mortgage of $600,000. We found them, and that was a pre-approval on that. Same lender provided a separate pre-approval, and they lent them $20,000 as a loan with a fixed payment for the next 5 years. So after 5 years, these people will have paid back the loan and basically accumulated the same as the down payment would have been. And so they're building equity into their house. So for the first 5 years, they're going to pay an extra payment because they didn't have the money, but at least they got the job done. And in today's market, that becomes critical because the way the housing prices are going crazy high, if you don't get in now, when you go back in 2 years or go back in a year and a half, there may be a $50,000, $60,000 difference higher in the same house that you were looking at that was $6, now it's $750. You don't know. You really don't know what it's going to be.
And
so not only are you buying
something, Reno, on this whole borrow down payment. Okay, so you're going to hear all the time we say, you can't borrow, you can't borrow. You can borrow it, but you have to disclose it. And there's certain ways you can borrow it. You can't just go get it off of any Tom person, right? There's a certain way, and we have to disclose it to our lenders and the insurers so that they know that the money that's coming to buy that house is partially down, is borrowed.
Okay, but remember, if you have bad credit or weak credit, a really, so-so job with no longevity and sort of just borderline hitting the ratio numbers, and you've had some issues in the past, you're not going to qualify for the borrowed down payment.
No, absolutely.
So get that in your head. Not everything fits everybody. And that's what we're good at. We're good at knowing what fits with who, and then that's how we put the.
And then borrow down payment. Somebody's got a good job, who's got longevity. There's not a chance. Like they're just.
By the way, my folks are making $150,000 a year. Just to get it clear, they had an income of $150,000 a year,
and no debt. So that extra debt that they're carrying, because they have to carry an extra loan, so it's an extra debt. If they're carrying that, they still got to be able to afford it, that debt, that mortgage, and whatever other debts they have. So whenever you're somebody who's coming to us, yeah, we make $150,000, but I have two $700 truck payments each month, you probably won't qualify for that program. So before you go out to buy a car, think about it and ask us so that we can make sure that you're doing the right thing at the right time for you. Because you know how we love those automobiles.
The car, well, actually, the truck is the number one deal breaker in all of Ontario. There are $1,000 a month car and truck payments that people are making on a regular basis, have a minimal type income, and they wonder why they can't get a house. Well, that's the reason. Get rid of the truck, drive something that's $200 a month, and you'll be able to afford it. All right, so we only got 10 minutes left. Isn't that beautiful? We got 10 minutes left and we got 9 or 10 points to go. So that's deal number one. The second customer, a good customer of mine, really a nice customer of mine who is self-employed. And as any good, fun-loving, self-respecting, self-employed person, he makes a bunch of money every year, but on his T4s and stuff like that.
Great account. What are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with that. You have a good account.
Well, that's the point. On their notice of assessment, just like Donald Trump, everybody's upset about Donald Trump. Well, you know what? Don't get upset. The law allows it, so take advantage of every loophole that you can get. So here's this guy, makes great money as a business for self person, but when you look at his paperwork, it looks like he's next to poverty. You know, it's how does he even afford? How does he even afford the license plates on the truck that he drives? I don't. That's what the point is. But it's legal. However, when it comes to buying mortgages or getting mortgages, well, that'll get you. That's the only thing that's going to stop you from getting a mortgage is those papers. So we have other programs, and it's called Business for Self-Stated Income. Guy makes the money. I've got other ways to prove it. It's just not a government document. And so I was able to do in the last 2 years. I've done 2 deals with this guy. Absolutely salt of the earth guy. He's just good. He's the same lender loaned him twice, and the same lender did the third one as well now. And here's how it goes. So 2 years ago, I sold him a house, or I did a mortgage for him. A year ago, I did another mortgage for him on a different house, on a rental house. And now he wants to buy a piece of vacant land. Well, vacant land is kind of quirky because the best deal you're going to get out there is, okay, you want to mortgage it, it's going to cost you 50% down, and we'll find a mortgage for the other 50%.
It's not technically a mortgage, so let's be clear about that.
It's a loan. You're right. It's a loan, right?
It's a loan. It's a loan. So the rates are going to be high because it's land. What is there like to get rid of that? Always think, lenders, what can I do to get rid of that property if you don't pay your mortgage, your payment on it? That's what
right. And that's going to be tough to sell.
And that's a tough sell. Absolutely.
Right. So the other thing about him, which was normal with when you're buying a piece of land, you're not going to build on it tomorrow. I mean, this guy is, he wants to build a property 3 years down the road. He wants to buy the land today because it's available today, but he wants to build 3, maybe 4 years down the road. So he has to think about the actual buying charges cost, and if it's a mortgage, the carrying cost on this mortgage. So our solution was really easy. And this time it worked out really super simple. Both of these houses that we bought in the last 2 years have appreciated greatly in value. They've both gone up about almost $100,000 each. That's a big chunk of money. That's an extra $200,000 worth of equity that he never had 2 years ago. And so we took credit lines on those houses so that he has a line of credit that he can use to buy the empty land and carry it through the low rates that a credit line offers, a secured credit line offers on his houses. So it's really, really simple. And again, a business for self kind of guy with very little documentation other than the right stuff. We could see the money going into his bank account, and that's what we use. Business for self stated income pulled through on this one here again. So if you have little quirky situations that you happen to make lots of money, but not showing it, talk, all you got to do is talk with us. We'll let you know. We're not going to lie to you because eventually we got to get you approved. So we're not going to try and fool you. We're going to say, hey, if we do this, this is how we get it done.
And just planning. It's all about planning. It's all also working with you and making sure everything is correct and stuff like that. Now, you had another fun deal where they went in with a condition or went and did an offer on a property with no conditions of finance. And how much fun did you have when you get that purchase and sale agreement with the MLS listing that told you it was commercial property?
Okay. And we get these a lot. There's a certain area of every town and city that is, people live there, but it's actually commercial and it's zoned commercial, but there's actually a house or 2 or 3 or an apartment upstairs, something. It's residential, partially, mostly, but it's zoned commercial. And commercial zoning and lower priced ranges is absolutely one of the You guys hear that? My phone's ringing off the hook again. I just shut it off. Is one of the hardest things in the world to finance, unless we're talking over $500,000. Well, this one was a commercial listing. It was a regular house looking, residential people living in it. And guess what? Under $300,000, nobody's going to look at it. But my customer was in such a hurry to claim it, to buy it because of the environment that we're in, that she went ahead and made an offer, full offer, no conditions. So she offered them three. They were asking three or what, two and change, and she offered them three, and she got it. And so now here she has a piece of paper that says she is the proud owner of that house with no conditions, and they need to come up with $300,000 plus by a certain date. Well, they called me because I've done several other houses for them. And right off the bat, we started having a conversation. This is going to be tough to do, especially because she only wanted to do it with 5% down. So makes it very, very, and was legit 5% down because she was going to put a relative in there and it was going to be an owner occupied. So it was going to be fine, except the problem is we couldn't find a lender. We got 5 times, we got declined. 5 different lenders said, okay, we'll look at it. But by the end, by 3 or 4 days later, they all said, sorry, we can't do it because of that zoning. And that's a hard stop. It's very, very, very difficult to argue the point across. So I brought that deal into this fold here so we could talk about it, because last week we talked about alternate lenders. Okay, Sandy, we talk about alternate lenders all the time in here. And sometimes it's a dirty word, but most of the time it helps you get out of the bind, and they fill a purpose that other lenders won't do. So 5 declined, finally took it out to a MIC, which is a mortgage investment corporation. We got the deal done with a very special condition, though. The condition was, okay, we're going to give you the money to go ahead and buy this, but what is your exit plan? And the exit plan for us, for her, my customer, is they're going to work, because it's in a residential area, even though it's got that commercial zoning, they're going to work over the next year to try and work with the city to turn it back to residential.
And there is a lot of those properties. Like I just saw one in Richmond where, because it's on the main street area, it's actually a house, but it's also zoned commercial. But so if you can get it zoned back to, you want it to be residential, because if you try to sell that property down the road, you're going to have a hard time selling it if it's commercially zoned. So let's wrap this up a little bit, Reno, and you can talk about what you did that made it different for this customer.
Well, again, I took it to a mortgage investment corporation, which is basically a company that manages money for a whole bunch of privates, and they call themselves a company, which is good. Great rates. I mean, it wasn't the 1.6s that you're talking about, but it turned out to be, it wasn't bad. It was just over 2.5 for 1 year. There was a little bit of a fee, but then you know what? She wanted to buy 5% down, so that would have been on a $300,000 fee. 4% would have been a lot of money anyways. So you might consider that a fee. So she saved money on that end. So overall, I got her out of the bind. She got to own the house. The house is now hers. Her relative is living in there. And she's actually made the first appointment with the city council in the town that they're in to get the zone, or start working on getting the zoning changed. When that zoning is changed, which over the next 3, 4, 5 months, something along those lines, then we're going to simply refinance that with a mainline lender, get the low rates, and Bob's your uncle. It's really that simple. Come to someone who does this for a living. Come to someone who's comfortable doing this. Come to someone who's done it before, and absolutely great things will happen. Right, Sandy?
Absolutely. And this is Reno's specialty. So when you're calling because you want to do this type of property, call Reno, 613-678-0713.
You see how she's pushing that off on me? You see how she's pushing that off on me? Well, good for you. Karma's a bitch. Okay, one of these days.
Well, I know what my strengths are, and that is not my strength, but I can do it, but it's not the same. Obviously,
you know what? In this office, we're a team. So if somebody can't do it, one of the other 4 or 5 people that works with us in this team, we know it. We don't know it. We share that information and we get the things done.
That's
so
the
please
point.
look us up.
let's make that point. We are not just Reno and I. There's more of us on our team that they have specialties, just like Reno does and I do. So anyways, let's wrap this up. It's been a great week. We're always here. If you have questions, give us a call. Or even if you don't have questions, just check us out.
Absolutely. Don't forget me, Reno Viola, the mortgage guy, also known as what? The mortgage commando. Hey, and we'll see you all next week.